Let's just start by talking about the need to be here today and the fact that what we are seeing happen in district courts is, historically speaking, really unprecedented until recent years and completely out of sync with our constitutional system. You alluded to this, Mr. Panuccio, the way that our founders designed our constitutional system. Mr. Bray, Professor Bray, let me just start with you. According to your scholarship, when's the first time that a district court issued a universal non-party injunction of the kind that we're talking about today?
I think the first one is 1963. There is historical debate about when they started in the 20th century, but I think that would be the first one. But they certainly are not traditional in equity before then, and they were a peripheral backwater until 2015.
So 1963, so the Republic is 200 years old almost by the time we get the first district court issuing a universal injunction binding parties who are not before it. And even then, as you just alluded to, then there's this period of quiet where they're really not issued until the 21st century, until the 20-teens. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then we see this explosion, as you can see in the chart behind me. In the Bush years, Bush 43, we have 6 universal injunctions binding non-parties. In the Obama years, we have 12. You referenced one of those cases, Professor Bray, in your opening statement, your written statement. And then under Trump in his first administration, 64 universal injunctions binding non-parties, 14 under Biden, and now 15 under the second Trump administration in 1 month alone. Mr. Panuccio, let me just come to you.
In this explosive Senate hearing, we're witnessing a confrontation over one of the biggest threats to democracy no one's talking about: unelected judges using obscure legal tools to control national policy. What you're about to hear isn't just political theater. It's a warning about the slow, silent shift of power away from the people.
They are exerting policy-making power over the whole country. And the issue is this: we are a republic. Those who get to exercise policy-making power, like yourself, like this body, have to face the electorate every 6 years, 2 years, 4 years, whatever it is. Judges do not. We gave them life tenure so that they could be insulated and make decisions without fear or favor. But we limited the judicial power to cases and controversies, just the party before them. And in my written testimony, I note that Hamilton said it's the least dangerous branch, but he had a caveat: only if they exercise the judicial power. If they range beyond it, then it can be the most dangerous branch. And the public's confidence will be undermined because they have no chance to get rid of these judges because they have life tenure. They don't want to be ruled by kings. They want to be ruled in a republic where they have a vote.
And here's my concern, is that this pattern of, I think, abuse, this pattern of out-of-control behavior that we're seeing that's illustrated on the graph that's behind me is not decelerating, it's accelerating. And now we're seeing it not just with injunctive relief, we're seeing it in other orders, other procedural forms that are deliberately designed to insulate the judges, the district courts, from appellate review. Temporary restraining orders. You mentioned this, Mr. Panuccio. All of a sudden, we've seen a huge uptick in just the last few weeks in district courts issuing what looks a heck of a lot like a nationwide non-party injunction, but it's styled as a temporary restraining order. Now, Mr. Panuccio, if I were a judge who wanted to insulate myself from review, why might I choose the temporary restraining order vehicle to do it? Why is this happening?
Because, Senator, under current precedent, TROs, temporary restraining orders, are not immediately reviewable, unlike a preliminary injunction. So if you are a judge who believes a policy is unlawful and you want to exert power nationwide and you don't want anyone to review, the voters certainly won't. The only people who can do it are appellate judges. So you issue a TRO, then you extend it for another 2 weeks, and for at least a month, you can't be touched by the appellate courts.
And has this happened in the last few weeks?
It has been happening. We've seen straying beyond the typical preliminary injunction to TROs and other what are being called administrative stays, which also appear to be unreviewable.
So here, I think, is the issue that's before us. In one sense, it's entirely appropriate that we're here today, and it's entirely predictable given the urgency of this situation. In another sense, it's sort of a wonder we need to have a hearing on this at all, because my Democrat colleagues for the last few years have been decrying the very behavior that we're talking about now. And I think, as you pointed out, Mr. Panuccio, we've had multiple members of the last administration, for example, Joe Biden's Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar, she herself said in court, by the way, this wasn't a stray comment to the press, this is her at the Supreme Court, a court of equity may grant relief only to the parties before it. District courts violate this principle by issuing universal injunctions. Elena Kagan, Justice Kagan, it can't be right that one district court judge stop a nationwide policy in its tracks and leave it stopped for years while it goes through what is otherwise the normal process. I would just say to my Democrat colleagues, it shouldn't be, to quote the chairman, that one thing, or to quote the ranking member, that it's one rule for Democrats, it's one rule for Republicans. Let's make it one rule across the board that no matter who appoints you, a judge can only bind parties who are before her or him. There are no nationwide non-party injunctions. Let's make that the standard, and let's return these courts to the proper functioning of our constitutional system.
Thank you, Senator Hawley.
I almost...
You stuck to that time. I am so
for
proud
me,
of you.
it was really good.
What Senator Hawley is sounding the alarm on is more than just legal jargon. These so-called universal injunctions, once rare legal tools, are now being wielded by single district court judges to freeze entire federal policies. We're talking about one person in one courtroom with the unchecked power to halt presidential executive orders, stop immigration enforcement across all 50 states, or block healthcare reforms meant to affect millions. And the public, we don't get a say. These rulings don't go through Congress. They don't face public debate. They're not even subject to the usual appellate review, at least not right away. Here's how it works. By issuing what's known as a temporary restraining order, or TRO, a judge can immediately stop a federal policy nationwide. And because TROs aren't typically subject to instant appeal, they can remain in effect for weeks, even months. It's a legal loophole, and it's being exploited. This is power without accountability. It's law without legislation. It's governance by judicial fiat. And here's the scary part. It's escalating. We're seeing an explosion in the use of these nationwide orders in just the last few years. It's no longer about isolated cases. It's become a pattern, one that's distorting the very architecture of our constitutional republic. This is not about Republicans versus Democrats anymore. It's about a fundamental shift in how power is exercised and who gets to wield it. As Supreme Court Justice Elena Kagan warned, it can't be right that one judge can stop a nationwide policy in its tracks. And she's right. Because if one unelected official can overrule elected leaders, stop national policies dead in their tracks, and do so without immediate oversight, then who's really governing? Our founders built a system of checks and balances, not one where anonymous judges can silently veto the will of the people. The Constitution gives judges the power to interpret the law, not to become lawmakers themselves. If you care about the Constitution, if you care about your vote actually meaning something, this is the fight you can't ignore. The question isn't who wins today, it's who decides tomorrow. Subscribe to American Voice. We're cutting through the noise to expose what's really happening inside Congress, the Senate, and the courts. Stay informed, stay vocal, stay free.